It's Rooster here. In this video, I'll be going over choosing heroes, battle sequence, choosing skills, hero order, and assigning hero stats. Choosing heroes for an army. Obviously, lots of beginners will go to the lineup assist, and that can be very helpful. That'll make sure you're not doing major errors at least. But essentially, you want to look to put together these bonds we were talking about in the last video and try to synergize with those bond effects. See if you can create a bond with the heroes you have. Click on one of the gold heroes, then click on that button with the 3 people. You'll see what bonds you can create with that army. Not every hero has a bond, and not every army you're going to make is going to be a bonded army. You just don't have all the heroes to create them. So obviously, if you do have a bond, they're heroes you may want to put together, although not every bond is necessarily good. If you don't have a bond, then you just want to look for main skills that can synergize well together. There are many non-bonded armies that you can put together that have very synergistic main skills. That's what you want to look to do with your gold heroes and also your purple heroes. It's not worth just throwing 3 gold heroes together. If you've got 3 gold heroes, you want to look to make sure they've got some synergy. The other thing you want to make sure is that in your vanguard spot, you'll want one with high defense and ideally some sort of survivability. Otherwise, it's just going to die. This may not always be necessary though, as there are many different types of builds you can put together. Most good armies will also want an int hero, so that you can put a healing skill or 2 on it. If you have 2 gold heroes that synergize well together, don't just put a random gold with it. Try to find a purple hero that goes well with them. You can always swap that out for a gold hero later if you find one that synergizes well with your other 2 heroes. I'll give you a quick example here with my Lepidus army. Sun Tzu's main skill reads, when all allies deal damage a total of 5 times, restore troops and reduce their damage for a turn. Anything that says when all allies doesn't require them all to hit that number each. They just have to combine for 5 procs of damage here. Minamoto's main skill deals 2 procs of damage plus taunts the 2 heroes. That means any basic attacks from those 2 heroes will land on Minamoto. I then have counter-offensive on Minamoto, which as we learnt earlier, deals damage back after being hit by a basic attack. This will create a lot of damage procs for Sun Tzu's main skill. It's quite a similar concept to the militarist bond we spoke about in the last video. I've decided in this build to put Sun Tzu, who's an int hero, alongside with another int hero in Lepidus. This allows me to put lots of int damage skills together, which will benefit greatly from Chief Slayer. Chief Slayer is an excellent purple skill that increases its target's int damage taken by 15%. The important thing to note is what's in brackets here. It says affected by int. Each skill has a different equation for how that number will change with hero stats. Next we'll go into the sequence of battles. If we go to a battle report, you can see here you have the overview. On the right you have the stats. This will show you how much damage or healing each of your skills and the opposing skills did throughout the battle. It can be very good to see how your skills are going. Obviously they have certain trigger rates and stuff, so just looking at one battle report isn't going to help you. You want to look at multiple battle reports on similar level tiles, ideally high level tiles, high for whatever you can do at the time, and that will give you a bit of an understanding of how they're going. But obviously not every skill is trying to deal damage or heal. The Gladiator, for example, increases your stats. So if you see it's not doing any damage or healing, it doesn't mean it's a bad skill. It just means it might be trying to do something else. So you can see here counter-offensive did a lot of damage. Now why is that? Because it synergizes with our bond very, very well. He's going to be copying all the basic attacks and we're dealing damage every time. Next is the combat, this center button here. You can expand that and you can go through it each turn. All the different things that are happening you can see. You'll have the tactical phase at the beginning of each battle. If you click on it, you can see all the different buffs each hero will get from things like military buildings and unit types. After the tactical phase, you then have turn 1. Obviously, this is going to start with the highest AGI hero of the two armies, which happens to be Mulan here. You can see Mulan tried to trigger swordplay, which has a trigger rate of 40%, but failed. It tried to trigger all-out assault, also with a trigger rate of 40%, unsuccessful. Same with Arrow Storm. At the end of the turn, it then lands a basic attack. A hero will use its basic attack at the end of every turn, or at least after its active skills. You then have those combo skills we spoke about earlier, and they will obviously come after the basic attack because they are triggered from the basic attack. Next we have my Queen Ditto. She had the next highest AGI of the 6 heroes in the battle. Her only active skill is from the front line, which did trigger here. Then she landed a basic attack on one of the opposing heroes. You can see that little upward facing arrow. If you click there, you can see a little bit more information about it. You can see how many troops that hero lost. You can see how many troops that hero has left after the damage. And you can see how much of the damage was blocked. You can see that it activated Always Prepared, which is a skill that that other hero has when taking attack damage. This is attack damage. And you can see what happened as a result of that. Next we have my Spartacus. It has the 3rd highest AGI of the 6 armies. Obviously this is just a level 7 tile guard against my level 50 army, so I'm pretty much always going to have the first 3 attacks because I have level 50 armies with high AGI versus their level 28 armies. You can see what Spartacus did. Chilling Armor. Only has a low trigger rate, but it triggered, did a lot of damage. Then you have their 3 heroes. You can see them trying to trigger certain skills. Some are successful, some not so successful. You can see Spartacus's counter strike after they used a basic attack. Then at the end of the turn, starts turn 2. Same sort of thing's going to happen. There are certain things that might happen at the end of a turn. Engage passive stuff from the military buildings can expire after a certain turn. None of that really happened in this battle because it was a nice quick one, just a level 7 guard. By turn 3, the very beginning of turn 3, it was all done and dusted, combat over, because the opponent's captain has died. Now I'll quickly explain the order of an army. Not every army cares about the AGI of certain heroes and what order they're going to be going, or what order their skills will be going. But certain armies, like this Lepidus Sunzu Minamoto army I have here, do. And I'll quickly show you how and why this one cares about it. Now if we look here at Lepidus's AGI, it's 54. If we look at Sun Tzu, 56. So he'll always come before him, but only just before him, so not really much time for the opposition to get a debuff cleanse in, if they happen to have one. So what does that mean? It means I want things like debuffs to be happening at the beginning. So if we look at Chief Slayer, which we spoke about just before, it causes the opponent to take more int damage by 15%, of course affected by int. So that will trigger first, so that all this int damage behind it is going to do more damage to them. Next we have Flaming Strike. Flaming Strike here is going to deal a bit of damage, but then it's going to leave burn on them. Now burn, every time the opponent takes int damage whilst burnt, has a 30% chance to receive more int damage. So you want a bunch of int damage procs to happen after this. So why is that below Chief Slayer then, since Chief Slayer also has some int procs? Well, because Chief Slayer does that debuff, and then it causes them to panic. But the panic won't happen until the start of their own turn, but next turn, not this turn. So, it's going to cause the debuff, then we deal some int damage here with that extra damage taken. Then we're going to burn them, and then we go to Lepidus. Pontifex is always going to deal int damage 1 or 2 times. And then Total Conquest, which if we're lucky, and it is prepared last turn, will then deal 5 times. And then Disorder will deal another 2 times, and then at the end of the turn, another 2 times. And then next turn, you have that Chief Slayer Panic proc. We first start by increasing the amount of int damage they're going to take. Then we burn them so that any int damage procs afterwards have the potential to deal extra damage. And then we just fire a whole bunch of int damage procs at them. So there you can see AGI and skill order both becoming factors coming into play there. As I said, not every army and not every skill is going to matter, but in this particular army, it sure does. For most people, your Herald army is going to be your main army, so you want as much damage in as possible, unless you have those tech skills I was talking about. If you have the purple skills at the beginning of the game, and you're trying to get as many damage procs as you can, which skills would you look for? Attack is the skill that everyone gets at the beginning of the game, and it is recommended in all the in-game recommendations. It is a very weak skill. You can see 25% trigger rate is very bad, and it deals damage 1 time at 100% damage. So 1 time, 100% damage only triggers 25% of the time. Compare that to something like Battlecry, where instead of 1 time at 100% to 1 target, you get 2 targets for 105%, so a total of 210%. It gets you 2 triggers towards your bond, and it also reduces the target's stats for a turn. So you can see how that's much, much better and is working more towards our bond. It deals the damage to 2 different heroes. Now Fierce Attack is a good one. It deals attack damage 3 times, so an extra proc, but 60 times 3 is 180 versus Battlecry, which is 210. So it is more damage for Battlecry, even though it's 1 less proc for your bond. And it also does the debuff here. So it's still slightly better. Another good one is Counteroffensive. Counteroffensive is a purple skill, and that's the one we've looked at a couple times. We have it on Spartacus, but it can go well on Kutuzov as well. The Vanguard gets hit the most with basic attacks, so it's still going to get good value, but it also deals damage a lot of times. It's only a 60% damage rate, not very high, but it deals damage many, many times, which is good for our bond because it procs the bond, so that it's happening quite regularly and dealing that extra bond damage. Hannibal, he's an intelligence hero, as we saw before, so you don't want to be giving him attack damage skills. You want to be giving him intelligence skills. No Means Untried is a good one. It prepares for a turn, which kind of lowers the trigger rate, because say you hit that 45% trigger rate, next turn instead of trying to trigger again, it's instead doing the skill. So you have less opportunity to try and trigger that 45%. So it's not actually nearly as high as what it seems. But this one deals damage just to the one hero, but 4 times. So it's going to proc the bond 4 times. It also deals a debuff, which can be very good for those skills like we talked about earlier. If you happen to get a Hwoarang Du or an Arrow Storm, they want this debuff, so that could be a good skill to put on your Hannibal. Otherwise, another good skill is Disorder. That also has to prepare for a turn, which isn't ideal. You want to be triggering these extra damages frequently, but it is quite a powerful skill. It will deal damage to 2 different targets, and then it will also give it Rattle, which is a debuff that deals damage at the end of each turn. So that's going to happen for 2 turns. This turn, we're going to have the initial hit on 2 different targets, and then it's going to hit those 2 targets again. So you're guaranteed 4 pretty much, and then if they don't cleanse the debuff by next turn, you get another 2 hits. So a total of 6 hits and a 440% combined damage from all the hits. It does a lot of damage and also gets a lot of procs for that bond, but obviously is weak to debuff cleanse and has to prepare for a turn, which isn't ideal since you want to be triggering the extra damage as many times as you can for that bond. Now, why does this militarist bond not have as many damage skills as what I've been talking about? That's because I've got these tech skills. Preemptive action is one. It's one of those control skills I spoke about earlier. Because a combo army, which is the one that triggers from basic attacks, will beat your Herald bond almost every time if they're a similar sort of level. Your bond is very weak to them, but this is also a hard counter. You have a 90% chance to stop them from using any of their attacks for the first 3 turns. There's only a maximum of 8 turns in a battle, so them not being able to deal any damage for the first 3 turns can be quite powerful, especially since they generally don't run heal. So all this damage that we're dealing, plus all these procs of the bond, will hopefully deal enough damage in those first 3 turns that we're just beating scraps for the last remaining turns, or even defeat them completely during those 3 turns. There are some skills that you don't want anywhere near your militarist bond. Combo skills are a good example. As mentioned in the previous video, they have a lower strength and trigger rate compared to active skills, and only gain their power in armies that have a hero that increases the amount of basic attacks dealt. Since none of the 3 heroes in the militarist bond do that, there's simply no reason to be adding them. There are some skills that are just plain bad, like the skill called Attack that I mentioned a moment ago. Profound Warcraft is one of these skills. Even though it's a gold skill, it's still so bad that it shouldn't be included in any army. I'll go through the reasoning for that in the final video, so you can use a similar method to evaluate skills you might have the opportunity to get. Now we'll quickly go over the hero order. We said we always want this high defense one on the far right at the vanguard position. But which spot do you want for the other 2? Generally, you're going to want the intelligence in the middle, because the middle will take more int damage skills than your captain. So obviously you want a higher int hero so that it's not taking as much damage from those skills. But also the range matters. Take Kutuzov here for example. I know we've already said he's in the vanguard position, but say he did have low defense. You wouldn't want him as one of the other 2 positions because his range is only 2. You wouldn't want him as the captain because then his basic attacks will not land on any of the opposing heroes. You also have to look at their skills. Some of their skills only have a short range too, so you want to make sure those short range heroes and skills aren't going on your captain. There is an exception to this basic rule. You'll see here on this main army, some people have Milan at the captain position, other people have Milan in the center position. Now why would they have her in the center position if she is an attack hero, not an intelligence hero? That's because she does a lot of damage. All 3 of her skills do damage and a fair bit of it. And then Spartacus's counteroffensive will target all 3 of their heroes because it's whoever's dealing basic attack damage, and it does a lot of damage. Now Queen Ditto doesn't do any damage, she's just got healing skills. One thing I haven't mentioned yet is that a battle will always end instantly if a captain dies, and that army will be the losers. So basically we have Milan in the center position, and these skills have a range of 4. It means you can target the opposing captain when she usually wouldn't be able to. So we can try deal a bunch of damage to the opposing captain and try beat that captain before the other 2 heroes and just end the fight right there. I'll talk more about when to build around captain sniping in the final video. Next we'll go to where to assign hero stats. If we look at the heroes here and the stats, you can see I've assigned it all to the defense. Why have I assigned it to defense? Well, because this is our vanguard, he has high defense. We don't want him taking too much damage since he's going to be taking the brunt of the force. Now our center. What kind of hero is he? He's an intelligence hero, so we're going to be giving him intelligence. If you just click auto in the top right there, it will usually assign it to what you want it to be assigned to. So the suggested is what it will always assign it to. This other one is also an intelligence. So you've got 2 intelligent heroes, and those stats will also be assigned to the intelligence. The only other time you'd really go against the suggested, or what the hero has highest stats in, is when, for example, if you have 2 that could be the vanguard. So say you have 2 that are high attack and high defense. You put one at the vanguard and increase his defense. But the other one you have at the center, for example, and you increase his attack since he doesn't need the defense as much and you want to be dealing more damage. The other is if you have a high AGI hero. The suggested is always AGI. The automatic is always going to be on whatever their highest is. But if it already has really high AGI, it doesn't need any more. So I would give it to whatever the next highest stat is. So an AGI hero that has higher intelligence, they're always going to be going first. So just start buffing up their intelligence so they deal more intelligence damage and take less intelligence damage from the opponent. The only exception is that Casimir, who we spoke about before. Now his stat is going to be AGI. As you can see there, 97. It's higher than the others. But if you look at his main skill, it says higher AGI grants a higher chance for combos. So yes, he's always going to go first, so you don't really need more AGI in terms of where he is going to be placing in the order. But you do want this to grant as many combos as possible, so you would still buff that AGI, even though you're generally going to have him at the vanguard position and you do like that extra defense. You can do defense, but ideally you want more combos, because more combo equals more wombo. Get that combo wombo happening. You can also add 1 or 2 AGI stats to a hero if it is fighting in PvP a lot. Player versus player. If you give your Harold or Milan 1 extra AGI, then it will do its turn before your opponent if you run into a mirror. That's it for the 3rd video. The next and final video of the series will be more of a frequently asked questions type of video. I'll try to get through a bunch of questions that you've likely asked yourself or likely will ask yourself in a short video. If you found this video helpful or have any questions, please let me know in the comments and give it a like. If you'd like a video on other parts of the game, please let me know which parts and I may or may not make a video about it. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the final video.